Hello, my name is Gavin Buckley. I'm speaking to you from Skibbereen, County Cork, Ireland, where I work as a part of the front of house team at Uillinn West Cork Arts Centre. I've been working at the centre for a couple of years now, and the wonderful people working there have gone above and beyond to help me pursue subjects of great interest to me, namely blog writing and podcasting. Both of those fields afford me the opportunity to interact with the wide variety of artists that become associated with the centre through residencies and exhibitions. Fortunately, in spite of the recent COVID restrictions, I'm still able to reach out to artists over the internet and speak with them about their latest pursuits. Most recently, I got to speak with Kate McElroy. Kate and I both work in the Arts Centre, so I see her a lot, but we work in different parts of the building, so I've never had a proper chance to catch up with her about her background with art and the work she does. The following conversation with Kate is about exactly that. Hi Kate.
Hi, Gavin. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Can you give me a bit of a background about yourself as an artist?
Yeah, sure. So straight from school, I did ceramics in Limerick School of Art and Design. After that, I did a year doing the HDIP, so a training to be an art teacher. And I suppose I worked in art teaching for a few years and also exhibiting my own work. And so I joined Uillinn West Cork Arts Centre 2 years ago. And simultaneously in the last year, I've been doing a master's in art and process in the Crawford Art College as well. So yeah, I suppose at the moment I'm kind of balancing working as public engagement assistant with Uillinn and being an artist also.
Okay. What was your initial kind of spark to get into art? Was it when you were younger or?
I kind of got interested actually when I was in transition year in school. So I think just having a little bit more free time and I hadn't actually done it for the junior cert, so I got to do it in transition year then, and I just got really kind of taken in with it. And then I kind of I switched to art without like telling my parents when I was in fifth year in school, and it just became like this thing that it was like it just seemed like the most fun thing to do in the world, and just like I don't know, it was just so captivating. And yeah, and I suppose it was kind of like kind of a gradual decision then to apply for art college and to and to go to art college, and I've never regretted it. It's it's always the minute I kind of got there I knew it was exactly what I was supposed to do.
And where did you say you went after school for?
Limerick School of Art and Design.
Okay. And any kind of highlights or memories from that place that kind of bit of an artistic awakening, if you like?
I suppose just like, well, first year was amazing being like exposed to all the different disciplines and getting to try everything out. Like I'm really multidisciplinary, and I suppose as the years go on, I'm finding that more and more that I just like it's really kind of ideas led for me. And so I'll just like kind of take up a new medium when it's kind of suitable to the idea. So just the kind of the whole excitement of first year and being able to like try everything out and learning new skills. I think that was kind of a really kind of big kind of learning curve for me.
Sure. And then I know that you were doing a residency in the Arts Centre in Uillinn there, but has there been anything that you've done before that in between that kind of college and Uillinn?
Yeah, I actually did an art residency in Nepal a few years ago. So after doing like a year's teaching, I took a year off and I went traveling. And I applied for the Arts Council Travel and Training Fund, and I found a place in Nepal with this kind of like famous enough like performance artist. And yeah, I did about a 2-month residency, and I took part in this project called Building Bridges. That was 7 Indian artists and 7 international artists. So we actually had exhibitions in India afterwards. So I actually got to travel to India as well, and I went to go see the work in Bangalore, and it's shown in 3 places in India, and then it was shown in Myanmar as well the year after. So yeah, that was the other residency I did. And yeah, I've just done little shows then around Ireland as well. After college, or even during college as well, I used to work with, volunteer with an artist collective called Occupy Space as well. And we did a few exhibitions together, and afterwards, as well as artists, as well as putting on shows. So I think all that kind of different experience has kind of really kind of helped formulate my practice now.
It's brilliant. And you said you're kind of multidisciplinary, but what was what did you do for those in India and then in coming into Ireland and stuff?
In India, in India it had to be digital. So that was kind of part of the kind of brief at the start. So I ended up, I did photographs for that. But yeah, in college, I did ceramics and I did video, and I did performance a bit after college as well. And then this year, it's been mostly, since I started doing the masters, it's kind of all changed again. So it's kind of photography, found objects, and like installation with glass as well.
So for the photography, obviously you're gonna have to have equipment. Did you get any kind of backing for that, or do you have to did you decide to go in for yourself and set yourself up that way?
I just had an SLR from that I bought when I was in college, and then this year I started getting into film. So I bought just like off done deal. I got a film camera, and I got a couple. I got another one as well, and that one you can do like multiple exposures in it, so you can take more than one photo within the one photo, and it's really kind of an interesting. It's like an old Russian camera. Like a little wind-up one, and it's just, you can just get really creative results from it. And yeah, they just kind of opened up a whole new kind of thing again. But I also take photographs on my phone quite a lot as well. But yeah, film is kind of the new avenue that I've kind of went down now. And I actually just bought like a video film camera just literally like last week, but I haven't used it yet. So I think like the only place you can get it like kind of done into digital format is you have to send it to Berlin. There might be one place in Galway, but it's so I'm really looking forward to that, trying that out.
Some people that are listening to this, and including myself, have seen your residency that you did in Uillinn, but can you explain that for people that haven't?
Yeah, so it was a month residency in July. And at the end of it, then I displayed some of the work in the studio as well, in kind of like an open studio exhibition, where I invited the public to come, and I had kind of researched this way of kind of like inviting audiences to talk to you about the artwork, rather than me just telling about the work, inviting them to tell me what they saw in the work. And so the exhibition had photographs, found objects, and a glass installation. Yeah, and it was brilliant. It was so good because I didn't have a studio for months as well because of the pandemic, and obviously hadn't been able to like meet people or anything. So like just being able to actually have the space to put up work, and then also to be able to converse with people kind of about it, was amazing. There's just something about like actually being able to put your work up on the wall and see it, like, it just becomes something different when it's actually kind of all together. And even just how the works kind of speak to each other and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was really handy to have, was that because you were actually in the studio after I had seen it myself, kind of thing, and absorbed it. You were able to answer all the kind of questions I had, and it was great to have that interaction, because I could have my own interpretation. That was one of the first things you asked, was what was my take on it, and then you kind of gave an explanation, and it was nice to find a medium in between the two of us to kind of uncover it together in a way, kind of thing. And I saw you did that with several people, and it was really handy.
Exactly, yeah. Actually, since then, I've kind of titled it like the tours. I titled it The Process of Unraveling, and it kind of was that, like, it was like kind of being able to be witness and help facilitate kind of the process of other people looking and trying to kind of form meaning and from what they saw. which is yeah, it was really interesting. But even like, I suppose with some of the pieces, it's hard to put words on at first as well, like the glass piece. And, I suppose with art, sometimes it's more about what you feel and what you sense.
Hmm.
But even being there as a witness to kind of see people react to the pieces, it's this kind of, it's a really kind of nice moment. And especially as an artist, like often if you put the work and you just put it on the walls, it can be really like distant. It's hard to, you put so much work and effort into it, and if you don't get to see people's response to it or talk to people about it, it kind of nearly feels like, it's hard to kind of know whether it was worth it or what kind of a response it was, or so it's
Mm.
just a really nice way to make it all kind of real.
Yeah, it was great for me because, like I said, because the interaction. But I don't have kind of a casual knowledge of art, if you like. But I saw these things that are kind of your pieces that were somewhat abstract and open to interpretation and stuff like that, and that always gives me kind of pause because I just wonder. Sometimes I wonder, is art for, and not just with kind of physical art, but with writing and movies or what have you, or music. Sometimes artists make stuff that's abstract for the sake of being abstract, kind of thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like, how dare you question, what I'm trying to make here, kind of thing. But then,
Yeah.
and my basic question was, is this person crazy, or have an ego, or pompous or whatever? But
Yeah.
after a 5-minute conversation, was realized it was not like that at all, and that kind of woke me up to my own ignorance about my interpretation
Yeah.
of kind of more vague abstract stuff, which is brilliant.
Yeah. And I remember you had a really nice comparison as well. You were saying that J.R. Tolkien from Lord of the Rings, that he kind of liked to keep his stuff semi-abstract as well, or he didn't like when people tried to like pinpoint it to something specific, because then it wouldn't be like a timeless piece. Is that right? Wasn't that what you said?
That's right. I can't remember the term he used, but it was just that he was talking about some of the battles in the Lord of the Rings series, and people
Mm.
referring to that as or saying that he was talking about the war that he was in and stuff like that. But he was saying that if A equals B, then it just doesn't. Then that's all it is. This is
Yeah.
just as it represents the war. Where he wanted to leave it more open in terms of your own interpretation, or it could be just about a personal struggle, or about nature versus the industrial machine and all that. And that's why those works have become timeless, is because they're not just, this is a metaphor for that kind of thing, um,
Yeah.
which is
Completely. Yeah.
really interesting.
That's really
Mm.
interesting. And like, that's why I loved having those conversations with people as well, because they'd always give you new insights, and it would always kind of bring up something else for them as well, as in I would learn a lot from having those conversations as well. So I kind of was trying to get away from the whole kind of like didactic, or like me, like, this is what this is about, kind of, seeing what it brought up for other people was kind of like just as interesting.
Yeah. So that was at Uillinn, and you said you've been working there for a number of years now. In terms of more professional front, what would your job description be, or what's your kind of
Uh,
main role there, Lily?
So my job description, my title is Public Engagement Assistant. So it's, I suppose my biggest role is kind of working with the schools, and then it would be engaging just kind of different aspects of the public kind of with works in the gallery. Things like social media, or maybe doing tours, that kind of thing, really. But yeah, recently it's been mostly work with the primary schools and with the secondary schools, and trying to, I suppose, the kind of let them know that the art gallery is a space for them, and a place where they can be comfortable, and a place that belongs to them as well. Then they will feel that comfortable for life, and they'll know it's a place where they can come and learn and have enjoy it. So yeah, and like they are very, very open to it, and they have such a unique way of looking at the work as well. They don't have as many inhibitions, or they're not
Right.
as afraid of getting things right or wrong. and the insights that they see in things as well as me. Like they're so acute and so like good at picking things out and seeing things, you know, and it changes, you know, it depends what age they are that they'll notice different things, which is, yeah, it's fascinating, really.
You'd have that courage too as well to not, you know, like you say, you don't have inhibitions and kind of thing. It's just like they say what comes to their mind and they're not afraid of being embarrassed or
Exactly, yeah, completely. And they have so many ideas as well for making their own work, and yeah, it's brilliant.
Brilliant. I suppose that ties in with your own stuff again with your residency there, where it's kind of a collaborative.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. As much as possible, I try to kind of keep things fairly open so that it's as personal as possible, and that they get it's student led rather than like me led. That, you know, I'll give them a starting point or something like a kind of a task, or, you know, but it's then up to, like, there's a lot of choice within that, like them finding their own place, or, you know, they like, I'm kind of encouraging them to get drawn to whatever they're drawn to, like to follow their own curiosity.
Yeah, because I remember the difficulty in school myself with art where, you know, I had a friend, for example, who was brilliant at drawing kind of battle scenes with a pen, and he loved using a pen. But then when it came to, you know, being graded and tested on stuff for the junior cert, leaving cert, or whatever, what have you, pens weren't seen as, you know, a good medium. So you'd have to use a pencil, and he wouldn't be able to draw the things that he was good at, and then that just kind of put him off. And you know, it was frustrating for even myself, just, you know, that you have to do this in this way, kind of thing.
Completely, yeah. And like usually there is kind of creative ways around it where you can tailor it to doing it your own way, you know. And yeah, if I suppose whoever is guiding it is open to that, and that's the nice thing about art, is that there is this kind of openness to it, and it's not as like right or wrong, or, you know, black and white, where there's like only one way to do things. Like I suppose the nice thing with art is it is a kind of a problem solving, and there's many solutions. It's not just like one right way. And that's what makes it so interesting kind of to work in as well, because what everyone makes is going to be different, you know, even if it's the same theme, even if it's very specific rules, it will still be quite a different result.
I actually remember we had to, for the junior set, I think we had to make a clay head, and I ended up, again, with the Lord of the Rings, I was obsessed with I ended up making an orc's head, but I was just trying to shape the head to be kind of a normal shape, but it just had loads of my finger marks on the head, you know, just dents all over it. But I got higher marks because of that, because it was an intentional thing to make the orcs. But to be fair, I just got away with that, but it kind of
that's gas. Yeah, no, completely. And that kind of thing can just really, really work sometimes. And I suppose sometimes it's like, it's actually stepping back and, you know, like being able to appreciate that, like the mistake or the thing that you didn't plan actually is working, and it works better. So yeah, I suppose it's quite a big part of the process, is actually just the reflection on it and kind of decision making like that.
But is that in, you know, intertwined with their art, you know, their curriculum kind of thing? Is that, are they testing?
Yeah, so I would have worked with the art teachers. So I would have contacted the art teachers directly and just asked them would they like to be involved in the project. So with the postcards of place, I actually sent the packages to the students so they could put the addresses on it, and then they kind of give the instructions to them. And then with the Skibbereen Community School, we would have sent the packages, and then the Zoom calls would be kind of set up between me and the art teacher, and the students would log in then.
That's brilliant. So it's like kind of almost like an outreach thing, you know, like the kids, teenagers are learning about the local artists, what's actually going on in the community now, learning from that, getting inspired by that, and then making their own stuff. And then, you know, that ties in with their actual education as well.
Exactly, yeah. And like I tried to kind of put in exactly in where in West Cork where the artist is from, and to make it as personal as possible to them as well, for them to see that art is a possibility for them as well, and that there's people around that kind of do this in real life, because there is that perception still that you can't make a living off it, or you can't kind of do these things. So it's kind of trying to deconstruct those ideas a little bit as well, and show them what's out there and what's possible.
You've kind of already covered it, but what benefit has it been to you personally then, in terms of, is there any, maybe highlight memories from working with these people, and how it's helped you, how it's inspired you, and how it's benefited you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually get so excited seeing what they make and like how they respond to it. So like I suppose like most recently the Zoom with the Skibbereen Community School, just like seeing, I showed them Siobhan's work, and then I showed them what I had done, and I very much used kind of like natural materials, but then seeing them open their, but I didn't limit it to natural materials. I said it can be from materials indoors or outdoors, and like just seeing their, like what they'd kind of come up with, like, they've used glitter, used like, as I said, like washing powder, and like, I don't know, it's just like seeing that they had kind of went for it and experimented and tried things out, and seeing them forming into pictures then as well. Like I just find that really kind of exciting. And again, like as I said before, that like everyone's creative response is so different, and just seeing their thought process as well, and how they actually kind of go about solving it, which would be a different way to what I would do. I find that really interesting.
Gotcha. That's brilliant, Kate. It's a really wonderful endeavor that you're doing. I think you should be proud of yourself. It's awesome, and thank you for sharing your time with me and explaining it to me.
Thanks so much, Gavin. Thank you so much.
All right. This podcast is brought to you by Uillinn West Cork Arts Centre and made possible with support from the Arts Council, Cork County Council, and Department of Social and Family Affairs.